Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. We are on the run to Christmas now. Christmas is 2 days away. So essentially, we're not going to get into anything too taxing. You know, we gave our sort of bullish, broad outlook on the blockchain industry as a whole. Yesterday, we did actually 2 videos of it. We looked at what Larry Fink was saying in regards to everything becoming tokenized. You know, even though we're bearish on the price action, short to mid-term, we have a exceptionally positive and optimistic outlook. And, you know, one thing that I'm really, and this bear market has really allowed me to do is look at projects and look at what I'm going to be investing in going into the future. And I think there's some projects out there that are, you know, if you can spot them, will change your life and move that financial needle for you. And this is why, it's the whole reason we started this channel up over 2 years ago now. Was to really try and get people onto these trends and hopefully make some money via investing. And we've done a pretty good job of that. We got how the bull market was going to end wrong. But one thing that separates me from other people is, you know, we admit when we're wrong and we ultimately jump ship and got bearish, you know, back really towards the start of this year and have done quite well as a result of it. So we're going to start this video off. This is going to be a daily cryptocurrency market update. We're going to get into a number of things, guys. I've got some interesting charts to show you. I want to still really continue to stress this in my videos that there's going to be a crash coming, guys. It's really apparent to me at this point, and I think it's apparent to everyone that we're going into a recession now. We've been saying this for a while, but there's going to be a crash associated with this recession. Just like March 2020, there was a crash associated with lockdowns, just like the housing bust, just like the tech bubble, just like the S&L crisis, the double dip recession, and the inflationary bust. You know, there's always a reason for a crash, and that's still coming. And I want to start with this chart here. Now, some of you may not, you know, it doesn't look like necessarily a traditional chart. You want to hope this isn't an altcoin that you trade in, otherwise it would be a headache. But this is the CPCS, which is equity put to call ratio. Okay, so a put and a call is basically a short and a long in layman's terms. But this is how you can get exposure to equities through puts and calls. They're obviously derivatives. Now, a put is a short against longs. And yesterday, you know, this is a monthly chart. So this month and week, we've seen a real uptick and a trending uptick in regards to the amount of calls, puts over calls, so shorts over long. So this is the shorts going up, basically. If this was Bitcoin USD, this Bitcoin would be the short, USD would be the long. So this is trending right up. And you can see, actually, there is a little bit of alpha to be had here. Because if you look historically at when you've sort of trended into this range here, it's been, you know, we saw it in March 2020. We saw it quite a few times. And typically this has had a correlation for anybody that's interested. It's always good to do 360 cross-market analysis. This has had a correlation with the stock market. And you can see when it's in these kind of higher areas, you know, the stock market typically isn't doing too well. And this is just another way to look at things. I've not really seen anybody talks about puts and the call ratio. You know, if we were to bring this to the forefront, you can see that pretty much whenever it's been in this top bracket, there's always been that downside. Now, this is one of the highest points it's been to. And I think this is because, just like with the yield curve, it's one of the most inverted that we've seen. Something majorly crappy is going to take place, guys. I'm confident of that, more confident than I think I've ever been. And, you know, we're just ultimately waiting for it. We had given a lot of short-term analysis. You know, we called the rally to the upside. Just whilst we're on that point of puts and calls, large traders are unexposed to calls, so unexposed to longs. The large traders net speculative equity option buys. You can see they're at a low level that we've not been at since sort of the 2008 era, which sort of also tells us where we're at. This is another one. The percentage of inversion in the US Treasury curve just shot up to 91. This is now the worst. This is now worse than the global financial crisis. Steep recession likely ahead. And it's the most significant surge since 2007. So I'm confident. I'm not trying to, this isn't, you know, fear mongering or anything of the sort. This is the tune that we've been singing now for 9 months, over 9 months. And ultimately, you know, it's coming to a head. Things don't just happen overnight. They take time to play out. Really, I think we're just waiting for that breaking moment, which I don't think we're too far off. Before we go into a little bit of other news, we'll talk about Sam Bankman-Fried. Let us just take a look at some short-term price analysis for Bitcoin. So we've been on this trend the whole way down. Again, guys, Christmas around the corner. We don't do anything too taxing, but we're going to keep you up to date daily so you know exactly where you're at and what you're doing. We've been on this trend the whole way down. And we've been following it. We've been shorting it. We've done quite well. It's been a bit of a weird year for me as far as trading is concerned. Lots of learning. But essentially, the last spill that we had was, of course, FTX. That led us into our current price range. And this is where we currently are, right? So we've essentially called, and we were one of the only people to call long from here. We said we don't know, and we chopped up the ranges. Let's get rid of everything else that we've drawn. We've chopped up the ranges, and we said, look, there's levels here, there's levels here. You know, just basically chop it up, make it nice and simple. And we now call in that this is likely that as far as the rally's going to go, right? You've ran into this resistance. You've very typically put in a high here to really scare these guys. And then you sold off pretty harshly. I think even if there is some sort of a return rally, it's not something I'm even interested in taking. I think the momentum is very much set to the downside now. And this move to the upside has played out, and we're looking for that downside continuation. Yes, crypto's getting a bid today. It got a bid over here. It's had a couple of bids, and the bids have really been because of a weak dollar. Now, we know the story with the dollar. We know what was happening with Japan and the BOJ. And, you know, you can see the dollar had a really harsh day. In the strongest structure I'm seeing right now, either. But essentially, this has provided a pretty weak dollar. And you can see that markets, you know, love to appreciate. This is the dollar down in the bar chart. Of course, this is Bitcoin and Bitcoin Orange. Love to appreciate on the back end of this. And the dollar's still weak. We can put the S&P off, which really is appreciated. You know, Bitcoin, this is FTX for Bitcoin. And you can see the S&P here did very well when Bitcoin kind of sold off with the dollar, obviously because of FTX. But typically, the correlation is there generally. So my concerns are that for crypto now, one of the things that's going to cause the next leg lower is the dollar reasserting, and I think that's very much coming to a head as we speak. And I think this is going to be the theme going into next year. Certainly, as we're looking at the 10-year yields for government bonds, this has typically always led the dollar, and there's a bit of a discorrelation here, but it lags behind it. And I think this is going to really cause crypto to find its next leg low. We're ultimately still dollars. Yes, we don't want to be in dollars, but it's all about preserving capital when everything is going down. You want to be in the thing that goes down less. And that has been the dollars for us thus far. But crypto's getting a bit of a bid today, bit of a sloppy dollar. I think one reason as well is yesterday, for anybody watching the stock market, let's just go through it. We had the NASDAQ down 2.1%, the S&P down 1.4%. We had Apple down a whopping 2.3%, Amazon down a whopping 3.4%. We had Microsoft down 2.5%. We had Tesla. Now, I'm bringing out a video with a sniper either tonight or tomorrow, Francis Hunt, where we talk about this. This was nearly down 10% yesterday. If we look at a daily candle for this, it'll be a brutal one. Yeah, look at this. Tesla's just dying a death here. And this is really... it's got a long way to go till it gets back down here where some of your other equities are, but I wouldn't be surprised. This is what's happening with the equity market. And this is important to watch because this is the overall consensus for all markets right now. You know, we're not bearish on the crypto space because fundamentally it's flawed or broken. Yes, as an industry, there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of sort of hot air that needs to be taken out. But ultimately, you know, we're bearish on crypto because of the macro environment, which is a liquidity draining environment that's set to get worse. And I think markets are underpricing that. So because of the sort of severity of the day that we had yesterday, people may look to bid this up. And they may look to return it. Crypto did exceptionally well, actually, on the back end of all this. You know, it didn't really sell off to much of a degree. You are clearly getting bids here. But does it now just go on to set up something like this? and then we see that downside. You know, ultimately we're more biased that you're going to see these levels before you see these or these at this point. But we will see. So for me personally, not going to be trading over Christmas. I don't really see the point in doing it. The order books are pretty thin, and that's going to allow for some pretty skittish movements. I'm more just sort of focused at the moment on looking into the new year, you know, and looking where we're going to be at. How's this all going to play out? What's going to be the theme taking us into next year, and so on and so forth. So that's really the bulk of what I've got for you in this video. Let us just quickly fly through a number of things. You know, CBDCs are coming, ladies and gentlemen, and the industry is not prepared for it. However, I think it's going to actually, you know, it will expose and give a far clearer on-ramp potentially to the crypto space. You know, if CBDCs are already cryptos, then there's going to be a link there. The last bit that I wanted to go over was Sam Bankman-Fried sent home after his parents put up their house to cover his astronomical bail bill. So the bail bill was, I think, $25 or $250 million. And I think they posted 25 million of it. And that was backed on his parents' housing. So he's on bail at the moment. Doesn't look like he's going to go to jail for this. You know, we know that Caroline and whoever else it was have pled guilty and ratted him out somewhat. You know, I wouldn't exactly, if I was going to do something criminal, I wouldn't choose those as my partners. Put it that way. So yeah, that's really all I've got for you guys. You know, it's just a case of taking it easy for me now until Christmas is over, until the festive periods are over, and then looking at where we're at New Year. You know, 1st of January, and sort of making a plan from then. The start of the year is going to be pretty interesting, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. Today, just watch what the dollar does. Equity market got smashed yesterday, so maybe it gets a bid today. Maybe not. The futures is maybe leading that. Gold's up, dollar down, and of course the dollar-yen pair's climbing a little bit, but it doesn't look particularly strong to me. That's all I've got for you guys. If you enjoyed the content, like, so appreciate it as a comment, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Have a wonderful Friday, guys. See you in the next one.